Assane plots the theft of a valuable diamond necklace once owned by Marie Antoinette, which his father, Babacar, was accused of stealing from the wealthy Pellegrini family 25 years before. He seeks the assistance of a group of loan sharks to whom he owes money. Assane disguises himself as Paul Cernine and attends an auction for the necklace at the Louvre hosted by the Pellegrinis. He wins the auction, but the loan sharks, disguised as museum security guards, cheat him and steal the necklace. However, their escape fails and they get arrested, while Assane ends up with the diamonds and walks free. Later that night, while investigating the case, Youssef Goudire, a police detective, notices that it bears a striking resemblance to a book series, The Stories of Arsène Lupin, and then realizes that Paul Cernine is an anagram of Lupin's name. The day following the audacious heist, Assane presents his son, Raoul, with a cherished copy of Arsène Lupin, Gentleman Burglar, a gift from his late father Babacar, who tragically met his end in prison, apparently by his own hand, shortly after being convicted in connection with the initial theft of the necklace. Assane's closest buddy, antiquities expert Benjamin Farrell, drops a bombshell that the Queen's necklace likely stayed whole after it was stolen, the first time, completely challenging the Pellegrini family's claim that it got broken down. This revelation plants some serious doubt in Assane's head about his old man's guilt in that first heist. So, he goes and confronts Juliette Pellegrini, who admits that her family spun a fake story about the necklace's recovery just to grab some headlines. But she's still convinced of Babacar's guilt. Not buying Juliette's tale, Assane gets himself placed in jail with one goal in mind: to have a heart-to-heart with Tien Comet, this sickly guy who used to work in the prison library while Babacar was doing time. Comet points Assane toward a copy of the Confessions of Arsène Lupin, with his dad's scribbles all over it, revealing a cryptic message, "I am innocent," framed by Anne Pellegrini. Assane somehow manages a jailbreak and hunts down Anne Pellegrini, who spills the beans about ordering Babacar to sign a phony confession, all because of some strong arming from Inspector Gabriel Dumont. That name rings a bell for Assane. He's the cop who handed him over to social services after Babacar bit the dust. Meanwhile, Youssef keeps on digging into the Arsène Lupin connection, stumbling upon Babacar's case file, which just keeps peeling back the layers of lies and intrigue surrounding that necklace and its twisted history. After discovering that Inspector Dumont was the one responsible for handling his father's case, Assane takes matters into his own hands. He kidnaps the now Commissioner Dumont from one of Paris' town halls, desperate to force him into confessing to framing Babacar. In a tense interrogation, Dumont recounts events from 25 years ago when, as a younger detective, he uncovered that Hubert Pellegrini, who had recently increased the necklace's insurance policy, had orchestrated its disappearance and framed Babacar to take the fall. Dumont's determination to build a case against Pellegrini for insurance fraud is met with a chilling threat from Hubert, who mentions his influential connections and menacingly hints at harm befalling Dumont's wife. Fearing for his family's safety, Dumont reluctantly tricks Anne into getting Babacar to sign the false confession. In the present, Dumont maintains that he genuinely believed Babacar was guilty, but Assane skillfully pressures him into admitting that he accepted bribes from criminals to supplement his salary. However, the interrogation takes a dramatic turn when Assane's anger inadvertently reveals his true identity. As the police scramble to locate their commissioner, Assane narrowly escapes just before they can catch him. Dumont is rescued but refuses to divulge any information about his mysterious captor. Meanwhile, Youssef uncovers Dumont's involvement in the original investigation, connecting the dots between the necklace's theft, the abduction, and Dumont's past actions, bringing him closer to unraveling the complex web of deceit surrounding Assane and the necklace. Assane finds Dumont again and coerces him into providing more information about Hubert Pellegrini. Dumont reveals a significant lead, the name Fabienne B. Riot, a former investigative journalist who had been sued for defamation by Hubert after exposing his corruption in a book titled Dirty Money, The Pellegrini System. Assane approaches Fabienne, and after hearing his story, she agrees to collaborate with him. Together, they work to obtain a damning tape that connects Hubert to arms dealing and a deadly terrorist attack on a French embassy in Kuala Lumpur. Assane, operating under the name Salvatore, takes to Twitter, posting an image from the tape and threatening to release the full video. In response, Hubert publicly denies the allegations, while his menacing henchman, El Khan, begins stalking Fabienne. A heavily disguised Assane's plan to expose Hubert on the talk show The Other Edition. He fails when Hubert, who is friends with the show's host, manages to have the footage altered. Juliet, now firmly convinced of her father's innocence, decides to confront him. She reveals to Hubert that Assane is behind the accusations and was also responsible for the daring Louvre heist. Leonard attacks Fabienne in her home and demands to know where Assane lives, but Fabienne refuses to give him the information. To his horror, Assane returns to discover her body hanging from the ceiling. After the tragic loss of Fabienne, Assane finds solace in giving her dog to Benjamin. On Raoul's birthday, Assane surprises him with a top hat and cape and takes him and Claire on a train trip to a Lupin-themed festival in Tredet. However, Leonard, who has been tasked by Hubert to eliminate Assane but leave Claire and Raoul unharmed, secretly follows the family onto the train. Assane spots Leonard and engages in a fierce altercation with him in a storage closet at the rear of the train. He manages to lock Leonard inside but is unaware of the danger that still looms. As the train approaches its destination, Leonard escapes from the closet and sits beside Raoul. In a desperate bid to protect his family, Assane directs them to disembark ahead of him and manipulates the local police into arresting Leonard by suggesting that he is Paul Cernine. Once he catches up with his family, they make it to the festival without further incident. While Raoul explores the beach on his own, Claire grows increasingly anxious and questions Assane about Leonard. Her distress deepens when Assane evades the truth. He assures her that he will no longer keep secrets and pleads for another chance to prove himself. Meanwhile, Leonard is released from police custody and seizes the opportunity to kidnap Raoul. Claire becomes worried upon noticing that she cannot see Raoul on the beach, and she and Assane begin a fruitless search for him. Just as panic sets in, Yusuf appears addressing Assane with the name Lupin, signaling that the situation has taken a dangerous turn.